Did Led Zeppelin inspire the hard rock hit singles by Heart and Kiss? I believe so. Thank you very much for watching. All three songs share a key ingredient, a low E string ostinato sound, often described as a galloping rhythm. This musical approach became a major influence on hard rock and heavy metal throughout the late 70s, the 1980s, and beyond. But where did this style come from? Let's rewind the tape. There were traces of this on British and American psychedelic music, as well as the progressive spin-off that followed. But there's one style that we gotta mention. Continuous bass lines and moving elements on top became one of the signature sounds for the emergent synthesizer works of Germany's krautrock movement, which emerged to world acclaim in the early 70s. Names like Tangerine Dream and Kraftwerk expanded the possibilities of sonic design. It's quite fitting and fascinating that Led Zeppelin's Achilles Last Stand was recorded in Munich in November 1975. Released on Presence in March 1976, the mighty album opener was the natural evolution of ideas the band had been developing for years. The galloping drum pattern can be traced back to another Zeppelin opener. The song remains the same from 1973's Houses of the Holy. Listen closely and you'll hear John Bonham driving the music forward with an urgent, almost cinematic sense of motion. The roots of Achilles Last Stand also lie in Zeppelin's live improvisations. We can find these in the Whole Lotta Love medley, more specifically the funky Space Echo section. The band often explored fast E minor passages, while Jumble Jones held the performance together like glue. Meanwhile, Dazed and Confused had become Zeppelin's musical laboratory, often stretching beyond 25 minutes. It was here that the famous San Francisco section emerged, built around an E minor arpeggio before resolving to a C sus2 chord. That movement between E and C would become one of the fundamental ingredients of Achilles Last Stand. Dazed and Confused also provided a fast E chord jamming section where Page would play a storming E and D major sieg of pure electric crunch. Long before speed metal, their chemistry signaled into the galloping sound of Achilles. Robert's vocals, which he recorded in a wheelchair, are a haunting tale of survival with a fascinating melody that doesn't compete with the heavy section but amplifies the dramatic theme overall. Just like Kashmir, it showed an evolution of Plant into more cerebral storytelling and clever use of his new voice, away from high-pitched frenzy. This is one of the many reasons why latter-day period Zeppelin surpassed their Atlantic years in depth, arrangement, and musicianship. Achilles' moving chords drive the verses with creative textures thanks to the F-sharp minor and E minor combo for tension, followed by a clever response of D with an extended A note. By the time Led Zeppelin returned to America in April 1977 for a massive concert tour, fans couldn't wait to hear Achilles Last Stand from Presence performed live. Just as Zeppelin kicked things off in Dallas, American band Heart had finished recording Little Queen up in Seattle. Its opening track was Barracuda. Heart was never shy about its Led Zeppelin influence. Ann and Nancy Wilson loved the band and would eventually honor their heroes with one of the greatest performances of Stairway to Heaven ever delivered in 2012. Drummer Michael DeRozier channeled John Bonham vibes in his playing. Guitarist Roger Fisher occasionally played a double neck guitar, dragon pants, and all. And by 1977, Heart's live sets had featured as many as 5 Led Zeppelin covers on and off. Yet the fascinating thing about Heart is that they wore their Zeppelin fandom proudly, while creating a sound entirely their own, one that quickly made them household names. To think they enjoyed Presence when it came out in March 1976 is entirely possible, and records showed they were off the road at the time. So we arrive at Barracuda. Barracuda's guitar gallop effect is reminiscent of John Jones' bass work on Achilles. Speaking of which, Jones creates the gallop effect by playing secret muted notes on his 8-string bass, which rumor has it was a Swedish bass, and you can check the story about this instrument here on the channel. Jones' muted notes on bass is the overlooked ingredient that cooks the galloping factor, almost acting like a hi-hat. Hart managed to transform Zeppelin's muted notes into an iconic guitar riff of their own, while adding F sharp and G for a suspended in the air effect. Fun fact, you can find those F sharp and G motifs on Achilles Last Stand and Nobody's Fault But Mine from Presence, which underlines my theory that Hart really enjoyed that album when it came out. Rhythmically speaking, Presence is Led Zeppelin's finest effort. Jones and Bonham steal the show. The drums seem to live in the same universe as Zeppelin's Immigrant Song, with a touch of Achilles Last Stand. Barracuda's verses use the E minor and C combination found in Zeppelin's music, though Hart plays different accents on it. Ann Wilson's vocals take a similar approach to Robert Plant, delivering an intriguing and complex melody that creates a spotlight of its own. Not your average rock phrasing, but a creative choice of notes. While the pre-chorus and bridge have a very distinctive Hart-style arrangement, the guitar solo begins with a mid-tempo drum groove reminiscent of Achilles Last Stand, a nice nod to their heroes while experiencing the 1970s in real time. By the end of the song, Barracuda features chords moving over a continuous E minor bass line. This feels very much in the spirit of Achilles Last Stand, yet again it's unmistakably Hart. The song's sudden 4-note finale once again recalls Nobody's Fault But Mine, a detail I find fascinating. That's perhaps the greatest compliment one can give the band. They absorbed the influence, but never lost their own identity. And that's easier said than done, unlike other bands. British band Judas Priest released Sin After Sin in April 1977. One of its standout cuts carries a torch of Achilles' magic. Diamonds and Rust is built around an E minor gallop, moving chords, and powerful verses. While Priest made the sound heavier and more metallic, the unmistakable chugging momentum is there. Fun fact, Judas Priest opened for Led Zeppelin at their final US concerts that year. Diamonds and Rust was part of their set, meaning this emerging style was being performed on the same bill as the band that helped popularize it. Led Zeppelin played Achilles at these two shows in Oakland as well. By the time Led Zeppelin played their second leg of US shows in May, UFO released their 6th studio album, Lights Out. Check out their title track, it echoes the elements we've identified on Achilles. The producer for this album was Ron Nevison, who worked as engineer on Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti. Although Lights Out is not in E minor like Achilles, the guitar intention moves to F sharp to aggressively attack the strings, with the same galloping feel and floating chords on top to deliver the goods. For me, this is Immigrant Song meets Achilles Last Stand, with the exquisite feel of 6-string genius, Michael Schenker. Now let's go to May 23rd, 1979. Kiss 7's studio album Dynasty was released, and with it, controversial hit single I Was Made for Loving You. For some fans it sounded like disco, others discovered Kiss through it. Whether it was love or hatred, the track was infectious, catchy as catchy gets. So does it have a Led Zeppelin influence? I believe it does. And there's a part in Achilles that, while not disco, has a hi-hat accent that kind of predates what disco drum machines tried to copy. Back to Kiss, we get the opening low E string galloping thing, followed by the Achilles principle, floating chords over a dominant key. These chords are E sus2 and E minor, and A sus, A minor, B sus, and D. While the song is heavily constructed around a pop-oriented structure, the bass galloping sound throughout is like a family member of Achilles. Also, let me add the famous falsetto melody feels like an over-the-top adaptation of a note sequence Plan sings on the 1976 classic. Led Zeppelin played Achilles Last Stand all through their 1979 and 1980 concerts. For John Bonham, it was a gargantuan task, and he delivered every single time, next to John Jones's relentless bass chops. The song is a perfect summary of why Zeppelin's rhythm section ruled, and why it was kind of impossible to continue without John Bonham past 1980. For Page and Plant, it wasn't easy though, as the track requires extreme concentration not to miss the subtle cues and changing states within a relatively simple structure of technically just 3 chords. Only Zeppelin could pull that off like that. Page and Plant brought the song back for their 1995 reunion, only to survive a couple of dates. Why it was cut from the setlist remains a mystery. Achilles Last Stand is an influential track, whether bands want to accept it or not. The song's intro employs a clever and underrated use of Phrygian and minor chord arpeggios, long before it became the template for countless metal overtures. From Metallica to Dream Theater, the Achilles intro shows Jimmy Page was ahead of the game once again. Fun fact, he played his double neck guitar on both intro and outro sections of the song. Jimmy's meticulous guitar layering and soloing inspired an entire breed of late 70s and 80s metal records from a production standpoint. Overdub harmonies, proto-thrash metal riffing, you name it, it's there. It's like everybody was chasing the Achilles sound. Robert's approach to singing here redefined the role of the hard rock messenger. It's no wonder Dream Theater covered this track on A Change of Seasons. James Labrie feels at home on this one, so did everyone else in the band. I don't really like Dream Theater, but I love their Zeppelin takes, including Achilles Last Stand. The song just fits. And just as a small treat for you guys, here's a quick mashup I put together of Heart and Led Zeppelin. I call it Barracuda.